The prophet of thought. Open your mind. 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 Open your mind.
Open your mind.
The prophet of thought. It's the new dark exodus live.
D.X.L. You know. Thursday, D.X.L. It's
Dark exit. Think about this. Dark exit. Dark exit. Dark exit.
And peace, folks.
Welcome back to another edition of the Popular Thought Series right here on the old T.P.O.T. YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why your black asses are here. Tonight, special guest up in here tonight, my brother, SYRTYCE. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of fucking up, y'all. That's why when we first came on, shit was messed up because I can't find my goddamn glasses to save my life. So I can't really see shit the way I'm supposed to see it. So y'all gonna have to bear with me. I know what y'all thinking. Yeah, you're supposed to have a backup pair, but what y'all don't understand is that is my goddamn backup pair because I broke my other shits. So can't find my glasses. So just bear with me. If shit start fucking up and cutting off, it's probably because I'm hitting the wrong buttons and shit like that. But y'all know how it is. But anyway, y'all know as always, I always start the show off with thanking you good folks, you know, for your subscriptions, your views, your shares, your likes, and of course, your hard-earned. Oh, good look on that super chat, brother Counselor Murray. Appreciate that, brother. Before the show even start, my brother, appreciate that, man. I appreciate everything y'all do, man. I appreciate your hard-earned pennies, nickels, quarters, dimes, and 50-cent pieces. I appreciate everything y'all do, man. I appreciate the way y'all support this channel, man. And ultimately, y'all are supporting me. And I want y'all to know that, man, that I'm appreciative. I'm humbled. I'm honored. And I know this channel would be nothing without all of y'all. I just know it would be nothing. You know, there's nowhere X can go. And people don't know who he is. And I know that that's not just because of my black ass. I know it's because of you good people out there and you good people in here. All right. And I want y'all to know that I appreciate every one of you good folks for what you do for this platform, what you do for T.P.O.T, and ultimately what you're doing for me. I thank you. All right. All right. So let's get at it. My man SYRTYCE is in the house. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring my brother up. Brother, SYRTYCE, what's good with it, man?
Good evening, Brother Zabe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. You look like Epps, man. You look like Epps.
I look. I've never heard that ever in my life. Speaking of looks, of all the clips you got of me, you got me when I'm doing something like this and shit. You know, that was hilarious.
That's by design, man. That's by design, man. So what's good with it, man? I mean, I got what you sent me.
Right. Okay,
so
good. I was gonna check with you on that.
Yeah, y'all, it's fine.
Hey, Zabe, real quick. You got to keep your spares.
Yeah. Well, the ones I lost tonight, that is my damn spare.
Okay. Oh, man.
Those are my spares.
You know what's crazy is as you get older, I didn't realize this because I never had to wear glasses, but I'm doing this at night, and I couldn't read my damn notes. When I was reviewing, I'm like, oh, shit, where are my glasses at? Because the way my eyes are is that one of them at night, I can't really, I don't want to say I can't see, but I need the glasses, you know, of sorts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my thing is, I mean, I can see, of course I can see, but, you know, tiny writing, if the writing's too small or it's, say it's a grayish, it's got a grayish tinge to it, I got to have my glasses on to see it. A lot of times I have to look. Some letters kind of look funny sometimes when I look like at the chat and shit, because I know throughout the night y'all see me. I put the motherfuckers on and I look, or I put them on and I'm looking at something on my other computer. I'm doing that because what I'm trying to look at, I can't see that shit.
Oh shit! You're gonna have to get one of those like 70-inch monitors above your computer, you know?
Yeah, well, I got 3 screens. I mean, I'm looking at 3 screens. The screen on my workstation, because I got a workstation, and the screen here is 18 inches, and then I got a 40-inch over here, then I got another 18-inch over here. It's just that I'm getting old and the eyes are failing, man.
Well, hopefully,
they failing.
Yeah, hopefully with what I say with this presentation, you know, it'll you know, somewhat help, you know, with this. I overheard you mention to the brother Counselor Murray, sent the super chat. What's up to my brother there? That was a fantastic presentation he did on Bernard Riley's show earlier. About
I caught some of it. That brother is serious, man. He's official.
Yeah. You know what? I think I sent this to you last week about this. You know, not to make this more somber or anything, but I look at the manosphere like there's, you know, despite all the complaints, you have talented brothers in IT, mental health, you're a mechanical engineer, we got construction guys, we got military guys, we got the whole gambit, and we got health guys, you know, and it's time for us to start sharing this type of information. And last Saturday, I mean, it's somebody who I know him. Well, if you've known somebody for 5 years, whether you guys are friends or not, excuse the sirens behind me if you overhear those. But I want to say he's a veteran.
As long as they don't kick in your door, I ain't worried about it.
Oh, I got some button. Well, I'm not. No, unfortunately, he had a passing, man. He was only in his 60s, and he happened to ask me about this topic, and we just never got around to it because of COVID, man. And I'm like, you know what? I got to get this information out somehow, some way, because I'm still kind of learning through these things, you know, through this. But even in doing a lot of research on this, I didn't want to make it this deep just yet, just kind of keep it lighthearted. But even just doing the research I did a couple of days ago, I found some things that kind of blew me away. But hopefully I can highlight those. But I didn't want this to be just so structured. Hopefully it can evolve into a part 2 where I can get more into the actual fasting, but I do have to lay out the history of sorts. Okay.
Well, you got the floor, man. I'm gonna go ahead and just make you the main
all right.
Make you the main man up here now.
And of course, as
take it away.
As that happens, somebody wants to call my phone. It's like I see you on YouTube.
Hey, I get phone calls like this. Is that you? Of course it's me.
Who else would it be? Who else would it be? All right. So let me do a share screen if you don't mind.
Okay.
Permission?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sharing
Bring it up.
Just 2 monitors. Share screen. Yeah. Can I pick my app? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, bear with me. Screen 2, we'll just do screen 2 like this. And let me do share. I'll clear that up in a second. What I was hoping for was how you can just sometimes share the browser and not the entire screen. So give me a second here. This is the first time I'm using.
Yeah, well, just all you have to do is pick a tab. If you got a tab open, just have it share that tab.
That's exactly what I wanted to. Bear with me. Let's see here.
After these messages, we will be right back, folks. We are experiencing technical something or another, and Brother SYRTYCE is going to make it happen once he figure out his StreamYard program. You ready? You ready?
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Let me see. Can you you see this? Okay. All right. So go to my spontaneous notes here.
Go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
All right. Now I'm just making a little joke there. Let's see. All right. Good evening, everyone. So this is a presentation that we're going to do discussing fasting and the benefits. But before I go through this, we have to first go through some definitions. most of this I'm going to try to do freestyle. I will be doing some reading from some sources. Xavier, feel free to jump in if you'd like, or if you have any kind of questions or anything of that nature. I want this to be more free-flowing than anything.
Okay.
And if you need to read any super chats, that'd be cool also too. So
Okay.
with that said, there are a couple of definitions. It's not going to be a pop quiz at the end of this presentation, but there are some definitions that I would like for you all to know that you may or may not be familiar with that I'll keep touching on. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to do it kind of like Quentin Tarantino style. I'm going to kind of start from the middle, go to the end, go to the beginning, then go zigzag right back to the end. Trust me, this will all fit with a bow on top. So with that said, we need to first understand exactly what obesity is. And it's very simple. Forget the BMI indexes or anything of that nature. Obesity, and we have the white man's dictionary, a condition characterized by the excessive accumulation and storage of fat in the body. This is, and it says excessive. So I believe according to the BMI chart, whatever you believe on this, for men, it's between 26 to 27%. And for women, anything over that. So if you're 27 to 28% body fat, you're considered medically obese. And for women, since they carry more fat, that would be around 32%. So the reason I have to point out this definition is we need to understand how we got here first. So within this next slide here, and let me know if, yeah, the slide is showing, is the correct slide showing? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to blow this slide up here. So, all right, good. So this is a slide from the CDC here. And what it's illustrating is since these stats were collected since 1960, which is exactly 60 years ago, less than 2 or 3% of the population was extremely obese, and over 30% of the population back in the 60s was overweight. Now, using the obese number, which again, anything is over 28% for men, 32% for women, what we're seeing here is around, we'll say 12 to 13% starting in 1960. Now, I couldn't find the exact chart that I did, that I saw this before, but that rate was constant from 1900 up until I'll show you where it started to pick up at. But constant being, it was less basically around, hovering around the 10%, 12% label or area. But then something happened. So starting in around between 1976 and 1980, we began to see this spike. And within less than 10 years, 10 to 12 years, give or take a few years, we see a doubling of the obesity rate. So we see this from 1976 to 1988, what was at least 12 to, let's just say again, I'll just use 12 as a round number, 12%. We're seeing it in less than 10 years, double. That's ridiculous. But even more ridiculous is when we look at the children's version. Now, I wish I can blow up this map, but I can't. And this, again, is from the CDC here. But we're seeing the same correlation, not the exact percentages, but we're seeing that in 1976, and what these lines indicate is the flat line is 2 to 5 years old. We're more concerned with the dotted line, not the dash line that indicates 6 to 11-year-olds. The dotted line is for 12 to 19-year-olds. So we're seeing here again, in 1976, a dramatic increase and a spike that again is double once it reaches 1988. Now, it doesn't take a rocket science. Now, in other words, you have adults and children whose obesity has doubled in less than 15 years, but in the 100 years prior, we never saw that type of doubling. So, and by the way, this isn't just black people, this isn't just white people, this isn't everyone else, or I shouldn't say this isn't every other group, this is everyone. So clearly, it doesn't take a scientist to figure out something is happening here. And before I reveal to you what is happening here, I have to go more into the history. So you may be wondering, Why am I showing a picture of an old school version of the supermarket? Well, for me to show you this version of the supermarket, you may think, oh, well, people were going to the supermarket and they got overweight. Bear with me. I forgot to put on my glasses because I now need to read my notes. So what many people don't know about the supermarket is that it's largely an American invention. We'll take it circa 1930s. Before supermarkets, there were dry goods stores, based farmers markets and butchers. So when I say dry food stores, think of it as when you walk into like an auto parts store now. You walk in, you tell the person what they want, what you want, and generally speaking, for for most things that's behind the counter, they go and get it. Whereas the supermarket was a one-step shop for everything. Now, here's and not only that, you can handle the meat, you can look through the products yourselves and what have you. You could also get things like shoe shines and all those things there. So bear with me, I'm gonna have a sip of water. What makes a supermarket, excuse me, sorry, the water went down wrong right there. What made the supermarket is a system that enabled the affordability of more produce and meats and what have you. Specifically, a supermarket is basically the end of the supply chain. So it's basically, it was able to create a system. I shouldn't say it. The system that created the supermarket was able to create the supply chain from the farmers to the food processors like the Archer Daniels Midlands and what have you, to the truck drivers, all to one location. Now, again, I said this was largely an American invention. And around the times of after the Second World War, even though the Cold War was still going on, there was a propaganda war going on. This is why those things like the Olympics were very important, because it was whose way of life was better. Was it the state-ran communist/Marxist systems, or was it the capitalist free economy systems? Now, you may be wondering, what the hell does all this have to do with fasting and people getting overweight? Stick with me. Trust me, I'll put this all in the bow, but I do have to set this backdrop here. So, as I mentioned, the Cold War was happening, and the U.S. was basically using this to say, hey, look at what you do to your people. They can't even get fresh food. Our people can go to these supermarkets and buy whatever they want and cook for their family. In fact, in doing research for this, I found some research that said in 1955, 12 Soviets visited the United States, just couldn't believe what was going on with this whole supermarket system. Like, wow, they can come and do this, but their supply chain system wasn't set up that way. So Yugoslavia, which I believe is, I forget what Yugoslavia is, or what the former Yugoslavia is now, but Yugoslavia was so impressed with the system. I believe it's Croatia. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure one of you brothers will correct me in the chat what Yugoslavia is, what Vlade Divac was originally from, what it presently is. But it was another Cold War bloc country. In the late 50s and 60s, they were saying basically, hey, how do we reproduce this? So the government started making deals, said, hey, we'll send you grain and we'll send you exactly how to do this. So it kind of killed their being the communist Marxist propaganda by they couldn't even feed their own citizens, but this evil capitalist system was feeding their own citizens. So you have this going on in the 60s, and I took a picture of an old school grocery ad. Don't we all wish those prices were nowadays, right? And again, to keep the supply chain going on, a lot of deals were made with farmers. I'm oversimplifying this, but I will go into some more detail later as this presentation progresses. But a lot of deals were made to farmers with guarantees, such as basically they would guarantee a certain price for bushels of wheat, long as it was just being produced. And any excess, they would buy those bushels of wheat. So the farmers had incentives just to keep planting because, hey, there's guarantees. Well, we all know that doesn't necessarily work long term, but that was the protocol then. Then something happened. So I'm going to read a little note from an article here. This is Earl Butz. And by the way, in this presentation, if people keep score on party lines, the Republicans and the Democrats will be both getting smoked here, all right? We're fair and balanced here. We call it as is. We're using history as facts so that we don't repeat these things. And again, just to briefly recap, I talked about the obesity rate and how it spiked at a certain level. It doubled within 10 years, which it hadn't done in 80 years. I talked about the advent of the supermarket and how the government basically created deals with foreign entities, including our so-called air quotes enemies, in supplying them grain, and also guaranteed prices for farmers. But this is Earl Butz. He was called Rusty Butz. Real racist piece of shit also too, but who cares on that? So I'm going to read a little portion of this article here. He was the man who coined the term, get big or get out. He also urged farmers to use every available square inch of land to plant from fence post to fence post. This change in policy had a dramatic impact on the world of American agriculture. Small farmers were crushed and big aggregate businesses became the norm rather than the exception. Part of the change was due to the high cost of food during the 1970s. Xavier, can you let me know if this plays for a moment? Let me know if you're able to hear this.
Shoppers and grocers complain of a financial.
Yep, I can hear it. You good?
Okay, I'm gonna let this play. We're not gonna hear the whole video, but I just read a portion of Agriculture Chairman Rusty Butz and what he was responding to with food prices. I'm also giving you correlating evidence of what was actually happening. Fair use. And shout out to the Hezekiah News channel. That's a great channel. I would highly recommend you all subscribe to it, and that he has a lot of great historical artifacts there. Fair use. Fair
use, Negroes. God damn it. Fair use. God damn it.
All right. So this is in response. This is just giving you a picture of the climate of the time in 1973. I'm also going to backtrack because I played the wrong video first, but I just want to test the volume. Let us go.
Following the most recent price freeze, the squeeze is tightest in the vegetable department, where onions are now almost 30 cents a pound. Even the common white potato brings a hefty price. How much a pound? 18. There are savings available in dairy products. A dozen eggs on special for 59 cents.
Can you imagine paying 59 cents for a double dozen eggs? Continue.
There's a 2-penny drop in the price of a half gallon of milk, selling today at 65 cents. Since March, the same 25 items have been purchased at the store at the beginning of each month. In that time, 9 of the items have sustained what seems to be a permanent price increase. At the checkout counter, what cost $20.01 on March 1st came to $20.55 today. Sylvia Chase, CBS News, New York.
Now it goes to another story on this, but we're going to give the black version now. And again, shout out to Hezekiah News. Fair use, please.
Americans are complaining about the price of everything from T-bone steak to hamburger. But in this working class community on the south side of Chicago, these people worry about the rising cost of economy meats. Pig's feet, cooked with black-eyed peas, replace steak in many households. But now the price of pig's feet has jumped 57% in the last year. Cracklings, small chunks of pork skin, leftovers of rendered lard, are cooked in cornbread and substitute for
Hold
meat.
Hold the hell up. Hold up, man.
All right.
How the hell did you find some shit with pig feet and goddamn crackling?
See, I knew that this would be entertaining since I don't need pork also too. I got to watch this. No. It was what I loved about that. That's funny. No, what I loved about the clip, Zave, was how they defined crackling used for cornbread, and also put in black-eyed peas.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let me let this play.
Fair use, Negroes.
Fair use.
God
Charles
damn
is
it.
into this, but fair use.
Many butcher shops used to give it away, but now the price is 49 cents a pound. And the same goes for other economy meats.
These prices are terrible. Like pigtails, neck bones, these are the things I must buy because they are the cheapest things. We must have some meat.
What do you think about the price of neck bones now?
Ridiculous. They used to be 19, they went up to about 23. Last time I bought some, it was 39. I bought some this week, 55 cents a pound.
Okay, regardless if you eat neck bones or not, you can clearly see that is a significant increase from 19 cents to 59 cents, regardless of the inflation, regardless of the time. That's damn near that's over 100% increase in prices. I did those because I like period pieces. Also, it's good to just see the correlation into the impact of policy and things of that nature. So, but basically, I need to finish reading this. The Nixon administration and thus Bus were taking heat over soaring food prices. Thus, Bus decided to switch from paying people not to grow food to paying them to grow it. He brokered the sale of 30 million tons of grain to the Soviet Union to keep prices afloat. This was not simply to help the farmers, but also to keep Nixon in fold, because there was fear that they would vote for the 1972 Democratic Party candidate, George McGovern. I'm going to stop right there because this is where McGovern gets into the food pyramid. I think you guys are kind of seeing the connection right now, but I have some things that I'm going to do on McGovern. But before I do this on McGovern, I want to show you guys something. Before the food pyramid, I'm going to kind of jump ahead on my presentation. Again, we're going to talk about fasting, but again, I have to show you how we got here with this double obesity rate, because by the way, that obesity rate was 20%, I believe, off the top, or at least 22% in 1988. Well, right now it's about 45%. So it's doubled since then. And that was 25, 30 years ago off the top of my head. But leading into the mid 70s, now this isn't from the mid 70s here. Again, I found this in doing some of my research. It used to be called the Basic Four. And the Basic Four was milk, meat, some grains, and vegetables. As basic as it can get. Now, one thing that's missing are fats such as avocados, butters, coconuts, things of that nature. These are what's considered to be good fats, but were later vilified as being bad fats. That later evolved into the healthy. I'm sorry, I'm putting one slide ahead of mine. The Big Four, and of course, I'm going out of order revealing. The Basic Four then became the Basic Seven. Now, mind you, this is not the government coming into play or any of that. This is basically various nutritious people of the time. And the Basic Four, I believe, began in the 1950s. The Basic Seven began in the late 50s and 60s. There's a color version of this. I couldn't figure out, or I couldn't blow it up, but I'm just enlarging. The Basic Seven includes leafy greens, fruit and citrus. It adds potatoes and fruits. That's interesting. It mixes potatoes and fruits with starch, milk and cheese, and of course, someone's texted me during my presentation. Anyways, meats, breads, and it does have butters. And then this is where we get into Mr. George McGovern. And I'm going a little ahead because I missed one of my slides here. But George McGovern was a senator, and fair use. This is very brief, but this is very important because we're going to now merge and segue into the fasting portion. But I think you all are almost getting how we got there, but you're about to see it before your eyes. Before I set up this clip, George McGovern, who ran for president in 1972 and I believe also in 1984, he was a senator from South Dakota. The backstory, I believe, I may get this wrong, but he saw in the late 60s, whether his intentions were good or not remains to be unknown. Personally, I believe he took kickbacks from food companies allegedly, but he saw a documentary in the late 60s about children being hungry. And he ended up joining all these food committees because he couldn't believe the horrors of children being hungry. Now, this is in 1968 that he saw this film. Rusty Butts, the Republican that was under Nixon, was in the 70s. McGovern is making his presence known with this food war, what have you, in the late 70s, or I say mid to late 70s in 1977. You guys, apologies there. You guys are probably seeing the connection here, but when you hear this clip, this will kind of reveal it.
In perhaps their greatest domestic success,
fair use.
McGovern and Dole.
Fair use, fair use, fair use. And this is from the Dole Institute of Politics. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm playing the wrong clip. In doing my research on this, I'm gonna pull up the other clip in just a moment. In doing my research on this, I also found out that Bob Dole and George McGovern partnered to rehab the food stamp laws in the late 70s. Prior to then, in order to get food stamps, the qualifications were pretty strict. So these guys, both of them, this is the clip where they both are saying they came to a bipartisan agreement with the Food Stamp Act, and that was in the 80s. But let me first go into the clip that I initially described. It's the same clip. I must have pulled the wrong link. Bear with me, y'all. Here, I don't want to, because I want to get more into the fasting part. This is just a clip of him and Bob Dole celebrating each other, patting each other on the back for creating the Food Stamp Act and the changes in the late 70s and 80s. What happened in the 1970s is that he pushed through legislation that would revive the food pyramid, ignored all sciences, and basically this is the first time. Now, this is almost equivalent to the modern food pyramid that we have today. If you notice, it looks different than the basic four, which was a circular pyramid. If you notice here, 40% of what the government is recommending is carbohydrates, breads, cereals, things of this nature. You guys are getting the connection now. So, but prior to McGovern coming in and really pushing this, the government completely stayed away from this. I want to read a note that I read for this here. Let's see. Prior to 1977, no government agency told us what to eat. Our mothers told us what to eat and what not to eat. If we were obese, they told us to lay off the sweets and the starchy foods, bread, pastas, potatoes. And guess what? Usually that was enough to control the weight issue. A conscious effort was made to increase carbohydrate content of our foods in order to decrease the fat percentage. These formerly fattening foods, the carbohydrates that is, became the healthy foods. We shouldn't eat less bread to lose weight, right? We ate more bread, sugar. It was fine long as it was a part of a no-fat diet. Well, guess what? One of those things when I said that the government increased the funding for farmers and incentives for farming, one of those crops was corn, where they had excess corn. Basically grain, corn, and sugar. Grain, corn, and sugar. But mainly grain and corn, because corn can be turned, as I'll read a portion from another book that I have in my hand right now. Those can be stored for long periods of time. By the way, the government didn't provide subsidies for, if you were a fruit farmer, you're on your own. But if you're one of these grain farmers, oh, here's all the subsidies you want. But speaking of corn, let me read you guys something. Bear with me. HFCS, high fructose corn syrup. We all know it's evil now. Maybe some of you don't. I came across a lot of this knowledge when I was doing some personal training way back in the mid 2000s. And I came across this in a book, and I wasn't aware of even the dangers of high fructose corn syrup. But as I read this and I learned and I stopped drinking things like Gatorade and just those kind of things, I noticed that the weight was coming off. But let me read this about high fructose corn syrup. And this is a book from 15 years ago. I just happened to find on my shelf as I was doing research for this presentation. High fructose corn syrup is a man-made sweetener that's cheaper and sweeter than sugar. Food manufacturers love it because it enhances their profits. So they add it into an unbelievable amount of foods: cereal, ketchup, soda, pasta, cookies, you name it. Even some meal replacement bars that are considered health food, which are supposed to be good for you, list HFCS way up there in the ingredients list. So you guys probably now see the connection of how we got to this point, starting with, we had a very efficient, I'm going to enlarge this again because we're going to get into the fasting portion of the presentation now. We had a very efficient, just to put a bow on this, we had a very efficient supermarket system. We had excess, we had farmers that had incentive to overplant, and I can't think of the word of what you do, not just planting when you're picking up the crops. Man, I'm having a brain fart right there. Anyways, but the farmers had an incentive to overproduce goods. And then what Butts did is he went, one thing I didn't read in that article is that he went to the farmers and they said, well, if we overproduce and you guys can't buy everything all, then what? Well, he said, well, we can sell this to the Soviets. And they're like, oh, wow, we never thought about exporting things before like that. So, and then we also see how changes within the food stamp laws, which is basically, hey, you can only, at one time with food stamps, you can only buy certain things. Then you could buy an expanded amount of things, but also you didn't have to be a grocery store to accept them. So these are the laws that McGovern and Bob Dole created. So as you can see, as more people are consuming more things like cereals and breads, and then the increase in fast food restaurants, we're not eating at home as much as we are anymore. We can now see why this spike is occurring and what we're dealing with, okay? So now that you understand the background of the obesity rate and things of that nature and how we got here, and you understand how government played a part, we're now going to talk about exactly what is fasting and why it's beneficial for us. First of all, fasting is nothing new. Okay, many religions, and when I say nothing new, it's been practiced for centuries. And in this presentation, I wanted to just mainly give you a history and then a basic overview of fasting. I can talk to you about my 1.5 year experience in doing it and also helping others with it, maybe in another presentation, but I will be glad to take questions. But I wanted to make the point here clear is that as I go through some of these medical things, it doesn't matter whether you're a vegetarian, vegan, paleo, ketone, what have you, your body is your body, okay? But in saying that, many religions have known the benefits of fasting for years. And this is just an article that's a glimpse of fasting within the Christian faith, fasting within the Jewish faith, fasting amongst Buddhists, most of the Abrahamic religions, if not all of them, and Hindu fasting, Sikhs, etc. So clearly the people already knew something. Now I wanted to share something and I'm hoping I can get this tab open here. So just bear with me one moment. I need to open up another browser window that I'm not sharing. So apologies for the delay here. So here we go. Whoops, I should just take the link instead of trying to copy it here. The author, and if anyone would like some resources in this, feel free to contact me after, this presentation, and I'll gladly provide you more resources here. But the author Upton Sinclair in 1911 even wrote a book called The Fasting Cure. Now, what mind you, again, I said it's occurred thousands of years. We have religious examples of this. Now, this wasn't a medical book as it was, wow, fasting does this. And I'm not going to go through reading captions of this. I'm just going to use this portion of the presentation just to go over some definitions. I kind of went off my notes too. So let me go back into my notes here and just see, did I cover most of the things I wanted to cover? Okay, so I just wanted to give you some of the history of fasting first and to show you that this is nothing new. And he's just talking about the benefits, but think of this.
Hold on a second, brother SYRTYCE. I just want to say this, man.
Sure.
I actually thought when you came to do this, I said, I'm going to be bored out of my fucking mind. But actually, I'm not. This is actually pretty interesting.
I'm an interesting guy. I'm an interesting dude, Zay.
Proceed, brother.
No. I appreciate that. You listening to a bunch of presentations, what have you. So I really take, that really warms my heart, brother. So
absolutely.
All right. So, and it's going to get even better. So I was mentioning about Upton Sinclair and the history of fasting and how this is nothing new. Let me see if I had a graph that I wanted to share, and I may be able to share this, but just bear with me for a moment because it kind of highlights what exactly happens when you fast. Okay, here's what I wanted to show. Okay. So before I explain what this is, I need to go over some definitions real quick. And these are the last definitions that you all will need to know. Okay, the human body is very simple. Forget that calories in, calories out crap that you've been hearing. You are not a machine. Your body has hormones. Most of the issues that we have are hormonal issues, not glands, hormonal issues. So what may work for me and may not necessarily work for you. But I want to give 3 key definitions and then we can go into this. Okay, insulin. Insulin is basically what spikes as soon as you eat. Think of it, the easiest way to think of insulin is think of insulin like a traffic cop. So as long as there's not too much traffic, that cop can relegate where the cars should all move. You go left, you go right, you go down, you turn, you stop, wait here. When it becomes too much, that cop gets overwhelmed. And that's where the term insulin resistance comes in. But we'll stick at that. Think of insulin as the on button. And then we have ketosis. Ketosis, you all may have heard about the keto diet. I'm not going to talk about these kind of diets or whatever. But ketosis is basically the process of the body using fat for energy, period. Brother Zay, you're a mechanical engineer. When does the reserve tank of an engine get used, or the fuel? Like, for example, when does the fuel in the reserve tank get used?
When the main tank is exhausted.
Bingo! Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, sir. And I did not prep him for that. So the way fat works is like this. I said I was going to give 3 definitions, and I will. So we have insulin, we have ketosis, and then we have autophagy. Autophagy I'll touch on in a bit, but let me go back onto the fuel tank. The way the body works is very simple. When you eat, insulin spikes and relegating, okay, and what this is doing here is like it's putting it into the liver. Then when you don't eat, I'm just going to use this long period here. It says, I have no more reserves. I need to use fat for energy. You want an easier analogy? Think of a bear. What does a bear do for 6 months? It forages. Why? Because it's going to be hibernate for 6 months or however long a bear hibernates. So it's just fattening itself up because it's going to be living off that fat. Now, granted, its metabolism is going to be much slower and humans don't metabolize, but let me get into this also. This is one reason why I wanted to touch into the history. There was a time, and Zay, you and I are around the same age. So there was a time you ate twice a day, barely, maybe 3. You may have had a small breakfast, then you had a long window to lunch, then you had dinner, and that was it. And then your mama said, hey, you better be home by 6 o'clock or I'm serving dinner, or boy, don't be eating after 8 o'clock. I'm sure you've heard some variation of that in your life.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard it. I've heard exactly that. Exactly that.
Funny how two brothers, but it's probably many brothers in the chat, and I'm not reading the chat, and many, hopefully there's some sisters in the chat, that have heard that same thing. They didn't have all this technical knowledge of how the body works, but they knew that, boy, don't be eating all that late. You're going to mess up your digestion. Nobody's never heard that, but they knew your body needed time to digest food so that it'll be ready in the morning. Whereas now we have so many abundance of options. Now you see why I had to do the history to tell you about how the food industry has been pushing these products. Oh, when you wake up, you go and eat a Danish. Then on your drive to work, you don't even cook nothing for yourself. You stop at a McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's is now selling breakfast. You get to work. Then you probably got some chips in your desk or inside your lunchbox. Then you eat lunch. Then you have a snack before lunch. Then on your drive home, you have another snack. Then you eat dinner. Then you have a late night snack. You see all that work you're putting your body through? Your body does not have a damn time to rest at any point. The only time your body can tap into those fat cells is when it's exhausted of all the glucose that the insulin has created. But guess what? You've been eating for all these periods of time throughout the day, so you don't have much time to tap into the fat. And guess what? As you eat, more and more fat stacks up. And that's how we become insulin resistant. That's how we're eating much more. That's why we're getting ailments that people in our family never previously had. So let me see if I have another stat. This is kind of similar to the previous graph here, and I wish I could enlarge this a little bit more, but the bottom part is just basically showing the process of ketosis. Ketosis happens when you have lower insulin levels, okay? Remember what I said, whenever you eat something, now there are some foods, there's only a handful, and there's some drinks, basically unsweetened coffee, green tea, apple cider vinegar, and that's about it. But everything else, even nutritious foods, everything you eat spikes your blood glucose, okay? Think of it again like that traffic cop. It's like rush hour traffic, if you will. Once your body digests all those things, it needs time. That time typically, and I don't have a time graph here in the graph that I'm not sharing right now, typically there's 24 hours in a day. I'll get into fasting intervals. Let me see if I have anything else here, if anything else, and then I can just kind of rock and explain this here from this standpoint on. All right, so we'll just keep this here for right now, just as a visual. And then I can briefly share how I discovered this and how it really improved me and how anyone can add this into their life. But before I go into this, just think about this. When you're sick, what happens? You pretty much can't hold any food down. Your body is just basically repairing itself. You barely can eat any soup. This goes back into something that I read in Upton Sinclair's The Fasting Cure. Now, does this mean that you can rest anything? No, but there is a lot of things involved in the body and its self-repair. And as I said, right now we're eating too much. And because we're eating so much, we're spiking those insulin levels to whereas we never are able to tap into the fuel sources, or into ketosis, which we use fat for fuel. Bear with me. I'd like to see if I'm forgetting one thing before I just go freestyle. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's a reason it's called breakfast, and many people have heard this. And I had one slide, but I figured I could just talk it through. That breakfast is the most important meal of the day is marketing bullshit. And I believe I actually do have the article that says that here handy. And if I don't, oh well. You guys will trust me. I've provided more than enough sources and connections to the times of the day. But they call it breakfast for a reason. Break fast. So typically, if you're in the old school, the last time you ate or you finished dinner was 7 o'clock, you didn't eat until maybe 6 a.m. And that was a very small meal, or you just waited to lunch to eat. By then, you've at least had 12 hours. You've had 12 hours where your body has digested and is resting. Now, let me be clear on this also. I forgot to give this disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I am someone who has experience with fasting and has done extensive research. Please consult your doctor for advice. We're here. Everything here on the Prophet of Thought series is for informational purposes only. Okay, now that we have that disclaimer out of the way, I didn't highlight this here, but one of the things I want to say about every time you eat, how it spikes your insulin, that's true. But here's the kicker that I forgot. Certain foods spike the insulin higher than certain other foods. I'll give you a hint. Alcohol, bread, cereals, those have what's called a glycemic. They have what's called a glycemic. I think it's glycemic. They have a very high glycemic rate, or not rate. They have I can't think of what the metric is, but it's basically they're very high in, they spike the blood glucose. These high fat foods, you know, the ones that were diminished in the so-called food pyramid, you know, think about it, Zave. When you were younger, I used to, when we were younger, I should say, pardon me, I used to do like, I used to go to my uncle's construction site when I was 9 or 10 or what have you, you know, and just be the kid giving the guys tools, shit like that, you know. And they would have these nuts that they would have with them that they would just eat. You know, if they didn't bring their lunch, that would hold them over to dinner. Nuts are very good for you, but then I remember in the 80s they're talking about how bad nuts were. And I'm seeing this advertising, and I'm like, what the hell? Well, look at Uncle Jimmy. He looks fine, but you know how it is. That's a lot of the marketing. But the point I'm just saying, and just using it as an example, and it reminded me, was these high-fat foods, supposedly air quote even foods, they don't spike your blood glucose that much. So it's not only that, I can't think of the term. I believe it's it's something like satiate. It's basically when you eat something and you're more full. Okay. So they basically, and one of you guys in the chat, I'm sure will correct me on the term, but it's basically the term when you eat something that fills you up. I love avocados on my salads. So I eat a lot of them because it fills me up. And I know it's going to last. Now, when you think about garbage like fast food, and raise in hand, I've ate fast food before and all this, okay? I think we all have. It's that feeling that it gives you the feeling that you're full, and then an hour later, you want to get some more. Well, what they're doing is they're putting in additives that are messing with your hormones. They're messing with your hormones that make you want to buy more. And specifically, the hormone, there's 3 hormones. I'm doing this off the top of my head. There's ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So that's when you like the hormone that says, I'm hungry. And then there's leptin, I believe it is. Leptin is the one that says, or what we would refer to as the itis. Stop, I'm full. A lot of these food companies put in things that mess with the leptin so that you're able to buy more. But let's get back into fasting here. Let's go back to this fasting circle here. So I was talking about the timing and intervals and things of that nature. So there's 24 hours in a day here, or there's 24 hours in a day. Duh. Most people sleep between 6 and 8. So you have fasting isn't you're just going to starve or you don't drink water. Your body is not going to starve if you do not eat. That's what your fat stores are for. Okay, I want to repeat that. You're not going to starve. Now you may say, well, I may get hungry. You're really not getting hungry. What's happening is basically it's a mental hunger of sorts, or it's a mental thing of sorts. And one of the things that I learned in doing fasting is it calmed me down to whereas I started recognizing a lot of the signals and a lot of the advertising. Like, for example, I mean, there's a football game on right now, I believe. I just went to grab some water and there's a damn food ad on. And you're like, damn, it's all around you. Then you drive, you see these billboards. You see it. Then people, if you work, God forbid you work in an office nowadays, you smell it. And a lot of these forces are coming within you. But I will tell you, once you start putting in a fasting protocol, those things will not bother you. And more than likely, I shouldn't say more than likely, when you employ a fasting protocol within your body, what'll happen is not only will your circadian rhythms be aligned, that's basically, hey, you know, when it's dark, it's time to go to sleep. Not only would those be in line, but you'll get other things, mental clarity. It won't take food that much. It won't take that much food to fill you up because your body is more efficient. It's like the insulin receptors here. I'm going to point to here. These insulin receptors are down, and it's like, okay, we know that we're not going to get food. We know now where we need to. If we feel hungry, we know now we need to go into these stores. Whereas when you're eating erratically all throughout the day, it becomes that traffic cop again. Like, oh, is a car coming again? Okay, I got to be there. But as long as that car isn't coming, it's like, okay, between this period of time, I'm not getting any food. I already know this. And this is why a lot of people see quick results with fasting. Now, you have a lot of athletes that do it. And no, it doesn't. No, it does. A lot of the information about, well, what about losing muscle? No, it will not lose muscle. That I will save those things for the second, hopefully there's a potential second presentation. I'm not for sure, but nonetheless, I will save those things. There's also benefits for diabetes. I won't give any medical advice here. I will refer you to medical sources, but I will just say this, and then we can make this more of a conversation because I'm tired of hearing myself, Zabe. But my mother is 75 years old, and she's not out of shape by any stretch, but I was speaking with someone about doing this for older people, and she's told me that she's lost 25 pounds, and it's not necessarily the pounds, it's the inches that are more important, people. So don't get too caught up in the scale, but I'm just giving you an example. After 4 months, she lost this, and she feels great. She doesn't need to eat that much. During the Super Bowl, I had a friend come down. He's like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, you was always in shape, but you like back to being ripped. And I'm like, all right, let me tell you, brother. And this brother dealt with cancer. And he hit me up 3 months later. He was like, dude, I'm down. He said, nope, you told me the inches. I'm down 4 inches in my belly, man, and I feel great. I'm not eating these donuts like I used to in the morning or this. I just wait till lunch. Typically, the easiest thing, I'm not going to give necessarily any advice, but I will take questions. The easiest thing, because I don't think that people should jump into this, but the easiest thing is just avoid breakfast. Then use that as the weekends, okay? So if you can avoid breakfast, you can have coffee, black coffee. Let me be clear, black coffee. If you don't like black coffee, drink water or green tea. Remember what I said. Anything there that could spike blood sugar. Now, you may ask, well, why doesn't coffee spike blood sugar? Why doesn't green tea spike blood sugar? I'll save that for the second or potentially second presentation. But basically, there are things within those that actually help the body stave off the appetite. And just think back to this, the caveman before, I shouldn't say caveman, we'll just say men before the advent of grocery stores. There wasn't a store on every corner. So you had to wait to eat. Or as I mentioned, Xavier, when we were children, we were out all day. We may have had a sandwich for lunch, but now granted, we're children and, our metabolisms are like crazy, but we didn't see that many fat people at the time we were growing up. I mean, if you were fat, Xavier, you tell me if I'm wrong. If you were fat, I mean, as an adult, you were an oddity. And I'm speaking like in the 70s and 80s, in the early 80s, we didn't see that many people like that. So, and that's because, again, people generally ate at home. Now, I'm not saying you can't eat out. I love eating out. I love eating chicken wings and stuff like that, watching football games just like everybody else do. I just learned to compartmentalize it within myself. So with that said, I think I've been going an hour right now. I will stop and take some questions, or if not, hell, we can close out early, but I hope you liked it. I can get more into the fasting protocols also. Can you still hear me?
Absolutely. I can hear you. Go ahead, brother. You got it.
Okay.
Got it. I'm just sitting here listening.
Okay. No, I'm
learning.
Okay, whoops. Let me get it off this screen about the food stamp store. I'd love to give some resources. This one particular person here, I'm just, if you guys see my YouTube screen, his name is Dr. Jason Fung. Actually, before I go to Dr. Jason Fung, this is a guy who I really like. His name is Edward V. He's a brother. He goes by Fledge Fitness, and I could tell you about the whole apple cider vinegar hacks. Like, for example, and you can have a glass of apple cider vinegar. How ironic. Now, by the way, I did not know that this would be the first video that he produced or what have you. Okay. Or that would come up there. But usually when I wake up, I'll have a glass of water and a couple capfuls of apple cider vinegar. And then that'll hold me over for about, right now, I began fasting doing what's called a 16-8 protocol, okay? I fast for 16 hours and I eat during the 8-hour window. Specifically, since I go out late, I would eat my first meal between 2 o'clock to 10 p.m. That was what I call my feasting window, okay? And then I sleep between 6 to 8 hours, and that was it. And I noticed, I'd love to show pictures, but I'll show that at another time. You have protocols that are, I know it sounds crazy. You're like, you're not going to eat for 16 hours. But like I said, think about it like this. Don't think for the 16 hours, subtract your sleep hours. And then, like I said, do something as simple as skip breakfast and boom, you're there. And you will see the differences within a week. Now, will you be cut and ripped? No, but you will see the differences. I forgot one particular point also to mention. I said that there were two definitions I mentioned. There was ketosis, the process of using fat as fuel, and there was insulin. The third one I forgot was autophagy. Autophagy happens, it varies between 14 to 32 hours of fasting, but this is where the benefits of the anti-aging, the cell repair, the recycling of residual proteins, etc., come into play. What autophagy is the process of one cell eating up another cell, thus creating a stronger cell. So that's where the alertness comes in. So your body is smart enough to say, oh shit, it's like Pac-Man of sorts, but Pac-Man getting bigger as he's eating these other cells and many other Pac-Mans around your body. That's an interesting concept in itself. Everything I've discussed, there's multiple studies on this. Now, warning, I'm not selling you anything. As I've just simply said, this has been practiced by religions for years, not necessarily in the same structured protocol of sorts, but this has been what man has used his whole life. I warn anyone, if anyone is saying, you need to hire me so I can show you intermittent fasting, I say, tell them to kick rocks. You have enough research out there for yourself. One of the things I wanted to do with this presentation was, because there's a shit ton of information, is to digest, to take some of the bigger parts, see the history, see the connection, and then you can maybe delve into this yourself to now be able to do your own research. And then you can, you're more educated, where you're not just diving into it blind of sorts. But the autophagy benefit is something that is very real, that I can tell you of that. And I mentioned my mother, I mentioned a good friend of mine. I have two other women that I've introduced this to. And then I have another friend who I've introduced this to in the last year, and they all have great results. And most important, they've made it a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. They just eat within a certain time frame. Now, can you cheat? Absolutely, you can cheat. After all, this is your life. You live one life. Some days, for example, I may go, all days I typically go 16, but some days during the week, I may do a 24-hour or 48-hour. Now, this is not to brag or pat myself on the back here. I've done as long as 84 hours, which is basically 3 days and 12 hours. I would not advise that. Now, mind you, you can drink water, you can drink tea, and there's a couple other things, but it's not that much you can drink. There's a couple of things in breaking these long fasts. Like once you break a fast, you're not just going to go and eat a T-bone steak or just even something natural. It has to be certain things. I've learned about broths, that I would love to share that information. And if you all, I know, Zabe, you know what a broth is, but just for your audience, broths are basically, there's a store-bought crap, but you should make your own broths. They're very easy, they're inexpensive, and you can also sometimes use them as a meal replacement. And you can also use them as far as meals. They fill you up. And in time, I shouldn't say prehistoric time, previously, this is what man sometimes drank to be full. So with that said, I'm pretty much done with the presentation. I'll be more than happy to take some questions. And like I said, if we want to end it, we can. I'm not watching the chat or anything of that, there. So
Yeah.
I hope you found it interesting.
Oh, absolutely. If any of y'all have questions for Brother SYRTYCE, go ahead and feel free to shoot them up. Do you want me to leave this chart on here, or are you finished with your?
Nah. You can switch it. Let me fill up my water in the meantime.
All right.
Brother.
And I was looking around, Brother SYRTYCE. I was looking around and I found this picture of you, and I wanted to share it with the audience. I found this picture of you. Is him? Are you there? No shit. He walked away.
No, I walked away. What did you say, Zay?
Yeah. Right. I was looking around, and I don't know if you can see on your computer or not, but I found this old picture of you, and I figured I would put it.
Let's see what your chat. Let's see what your chat thinks. Let me put the cam on 1 second. All right, let's see what your chat thinks. Give me 1 second. No, I've been hearing this shit. Whatever. All right, let's see. Start cam. All right. So.
Oh no, man! I don't know. That's a pretty good fucking match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going through some shit,
you got jokes.
And I found this old picture of you in my files. I had no idea that I had a picture of you in my files. Let me see. Oh shit. There's another one of you in my files. Yeah, there's another one of you in my files.
Not at all. I've been hearing that, and this dude from Silk, who I can point out to you in a lineup, but I'll let you keep going your program notes. There was one thing I was going to mention about this also.
Yeah, if any of y'all have questions for Brother SYRTYCE about the fasting or the dieting or whatever, go ahead and put them up. I'll light them up on the board, and he'll answer them for you. If not, you can just sit there and shut the hell up. It's up to you guys. But he's willing to answer whatever questions you got about fasting. So go ahead and shoot them up. Go ahead and shoot them up. Don't be shy.
Here, I'll see if I look at the chat right now. I
think it was a few in there. Let me go ahead and go up. See, y'all should have waited till now, because y'all know the StreamYard shit only let you go so far back. So,
hey Zabe, I didn't realize in StreamYard you can go back. So I'm going to answer a couple. And if you see some, you yell. But I see Man Friday, SYRTYCE. Do you long-term fast or intermittent fasting only? Good question. I do a combination of both. Man Friday, to be honest with you, I came into this a year ago. Here, a brief story. I had two knees. Well, I got into a cycling accident, bicycle accident. And I couldn't work out like I once did. And I used to be one of those guys, Zabe, where I thought, I can outwork this or whatever. Well, it's true. You cannot outwork a bad diet. I didn't have a bad diet, as I told you. If you're just constantly eating, your insulin is up. But bottom line, this time last year, I picked up so much weight. I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what the fuck? I stumbled across this. I would not advise this for anyone, but I'm kind of one of those kind of crazy guys where I think I got a lot of discipline. I did a 3-day water fast, 3.5-day water fast, and I felt great. And I got all the pictures or whatever before and after. But during my research, during the middle of that fast, I stumbled across intermittent fasting. And it was like, wait a minute, I just did 84 hours. Only 16 hours? That ain't shit. Within 3 weeks, I could fit pants that I hadn't fit in a while. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I'm not going to weigh myself, but I did measure myself and I couldn't believe it. Then a month happened. Then 2 months happened. And I'm like, damn, this is crazy. So the answer to your question, Man Friday, is to do a combination of both. Now, I will warn you, sometimes your body plateaus. So sometimes you may do a 16, you may do an 18-hour fast. You may have to, and if you don't see any gains, it's not always about just getting super ripped. Sometimes you may have to do 24. You should do 24. Or you may do an extended one. Or if you feel fine, you feel fine. But it's a combination of both. So hopefully that answers your question, Man Friday.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brother SYRTYCE. Like, I fasted before, right? I used to be a Muslim, so I'm familiar with fasting. Now, when I fasted, I didn't do a lot of physical activity. So do you still walk and jog and work out and all that kind of shit while you're fasting?
Absolutely. In fact, sir, I would. Okay, this goes counterintuitive to traditional advice, but we all know about traditional advice, right? I showed you that food group, right? Okay, so what's happening is one of these charts I showed actually highlighted this, but I couldn't really describe it in too much detail. Okay, so when you work out, your body goes and, you know, it seems like you're like, oh, you need to have something on your belly. You have more than enough fat cells for your body to tap into that, you know, through working out. To answer your question simply, yes, I do. Now, will it take, I won't say will it take time for your body to get used to it, but it's going to be an initial shock. But let me say this is exercise is a minor shock to your body. That's why you do it, okay? Fasting is kind of a shock to the mind initially. And when I say, I don't mean a big shock. I just mean like, okay, it's shocking something. You're retraining your body to go into fat stores. Let me backtrack to Man Friday's question. One of the things I learned with those extended fasts is that your body is realizing, oh shit, we are completely tapped out. We have to go into these food stores now. I've advised to, you know, people who aren't over 60, if you really want to do this and you want to see some effectiveness, to do an extended fast. One, it'll give you some mental clarity because it'll test you mentally, but you'll get over that and you'll realize that most of these cravings are just mental cravings. But back to your question, and then also, like I said, it'll train your body into using fat as fuel. But do I do extremely strenuous workouts in a fasted state, Xavier? No. Do I do the bulk of my workouts in a fasted state? Absolutely. Right now, Xav, I don't eat till 6 o'clock. I'm trying to reach something that, since it's kind of my year anniversary for this. I remember I said it was 2 o'clock. I'm now not eating till 6 o'clock. And I wake up and I do a walk and then I do jump roping. Then in the afternoon, I do some burpees and then I do my pull-ups and my planks there. So, but it takes time. Everything is gradual, brother.
So would you advise somebody, because, okay, you said the fasting is a shock. It's a shock to the body, obviously, if you're not used to it, especially if you're somebody who all your ass do is eat.
Right.
But so do you creep into the fasting or do you just jump up and boom, start fasting? Should people who aren't familiar with it, should they kind of creep into it? Should they maybe, you know, just have one meal a day as opposed to the 2 or 3, or should they just be like, bam, and just start fasting and only drink water or whatever?
I don't like to make things difficult when you start things, Dave. Like I have a philosophy, like I'm learning keyboards right now, right? I bought a cheap keyboard. That way, if I don't like it, I didn't spend that much into it. So just paralleling that to fasting, I don't want people, unless they know that they're really mentally dedicated. I've had some people who've fallen off on this, okay, too, but they tried to go into it too aggressively. I say, listen, how about this? Let's just do 12 hours. That's just 6 or 7 or 8 hours of your sleep, and then you don't eat breakfast. Okay, so you get your first meal at 7. Okay, wait till 10 o'clock. So do a 12 and 12, and then each week add on 2 more hours into that. You know, that's one gradual way that people can do it. I've seen people have more success with that than jumping right into the 16 and shit. You know, then they're losing their mind and they're calling me like, dude, I got these kind of headaches. And I'm like, yeah, because your body is like, where the fuck is my food at? You know, versus you do it gradually, especially if you've been eating wrong. In fact, Xavier, one way to really go into this is to really eat good and clean. Now, what's good and clean? That's debatable. I have a simple rule of thumb there, sir, and that is any food that has more than one, or that doesn't have more than one ingredient. So, for example, and I'm mentioning meats. Okay, you have like a steak, that's one ingredient. You have avocado, that's one ingredient. Kale, that's one ingredient. You know, you have your salads, a simple meal, a chicken breast, a baked potato, and a green like a kale or spinach. Okay, though that would be the type of meal that I would say a person should to go into a fast with. It's good. And then there's a vegetarian version for those who are vegans and vegetarians. So again, just do it gradually. And by the way, if you have some questions specifically, I will definitely talk with you out of courtesy and give you, you know, hey, here's this, here's how advice is. So just reach out to me on that level, sir.
Oh, absolutely. So do you think that how much more effective is fasting than, you know, just eating all vegetables, like becoming like a vegetarian or whatever?
It doesn't matter. I know people are going to be like, here come the darts. Whatever you eat. And matter of fact, Xavier, there's give me a second. It's called timed interval eating versus, okay, let me say this. Let me say it this way. I can't think of the exact phrase it's called, but let's say I don't do calorie counting, by the way, also. But that doesn't mean you pick, by the way, let's be clear, people. I don't think we need to say this, but at the end of your fast into your feeding period, that doesn't mean order a big ass slice of pizza and get all the donuts and fill up there. No, you still have to eat within reason, okay? But, you know, I don't think that has to be said, but maybe it does. But to answer back to the question, let's just hypothetically say a person consumes 15 to 2,000 calories. Again, I don't do calorie counting. I'm just using this as a good metric that we can say. Person A consumes the calories from, they eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and they consume the same amount of calories versus person B, who only eats that same amount of calories within a time frame period. And there are, by the way, studies that have done these comparisons. Guess which person had the less body fat, weighed less? It was person B. Why? Because their body knew when it was getting food and when to fire off those insulin receptors and when to go into ketosis versus the person, regardless if they were eating the most nutritious, organically grown vegetables with the purest soil. Whenever you eat, always remember, regardless of what it is, it's spiking your insulin. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just what it has to do to be able to digest it. The problem is that as long as your insulin is spiked, you will never tap into using fat for energy. And that's what we're trying to do here.
All right. So if you good folks got any questions for Brother SYRTYCE, go ahead and shoot them up. I'll put them on the big board.
To GQ, juice fast. I don't know if you're asking a question. I did, before I knew this, a 3-week juice fast, and I saw some decent results, but nothing like intermittent fasting, okay? That doesn't say that juice fasts don't work. I'm just going more into the hormone. And one of these things that, again, people don't talk about is how the hormones play effect into this. And that's where I mentioned about how the insulin spikes. So you can even eat the best of foods. But Xavier, think of cultures where they're not eating all the fucking time. I mean, we eat all the time. I described the typical day for, hey, listen, I was one of those guys, okay? So, you know, I had the grapes on my desk. So it doesn't matter. You know, it was grapes. You know, I'm like, well, I'm not eating junk. I was eating all the time. even if it was nutritious food. Whereas you look at places where they're working all day on a farm, they may have, their culture isn't. I mean, that's another thing, Xavier, also that I forgot to mention during the presentation. A lot of our culture is based around food. I mean, we eat food when we're watching a football game. We eat food when we're when we shooting the breeze with each other. Then we eat food during holidays. Shit, I love barbecues. Okay, there's food before the barbecue is ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing.
So,
go ahead.
So what do you think is worse, Brother SYRTYCE? Do you think eating very little but eating a bunch of garbage, or eating frequently but eating, decent shit like vegetables and shit like that? Because you can overdo anything. Like you said, you would always have, like the grapes and shit on your desk, but you probably would eat a whole bushel of them motherfuckers.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a handful. So all of that stuff makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're both. I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record. We put on, and I'm not saying this in the tone to you in a negative way by any stretch, but we put on extra weight because we're storing more fat. We're storing more fat because our liver is like, okay, what do I do with all this excess? Okay, boom, because I'm keep receiving things. In fact, here's the best analogy. This is the home run right here. I can't believe I forgot this. Think of your body like defrosting a freezer. Okay, the fat is the defrosting part. Now, how do you defrost a freezer? Well, there's two ways. Well, there's multiple ways you can do it, but the number one way is to turn it off and pull the plug out and just let that ice melt. But you can also get a hair dryer, but that hair dryer is going to be used a long time or what have you. You'll be sitting there trying to hair dry that ice a long time. If you tell me which would get defrosted quicker, that freezer. If you just take the plug out and let's let it sit for 8 hours, but then you have to turn it on. I shouldn't say 8 hours, for 16 hours, but then you have to turn it on just to keep the beer or the juice or whatever it is you drink. You need to let it cool for 4 hours, but then let it do for 16 more hours. Most of that ice will be gone. You see what I'm saying? So that's a good way to think of the body. It needs a period where it can not only digest, first it has to digest the food and then spawn the nutrients every place. Then once it's like, okay, we're good, we're not expecting any food, then it's like, oh shit, he's about to work out. He needs more energy. Let me tap into these fat cells for energy, because after all, that's what they're there for. So going back to answer your original question, anything that is creating or spiking the insulin, whether it's good food or bad food, is going to be bad, because I shouldn't say it's going to be bad, is going to interfere with tapping into the fat cells for fuel.
Okay. Yeah, man. This was very interesting, Brother SYRTYCE. I mean, it's actually pretty interesting, and I'm probably gonna go back and watch this shit again to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I'm sure brothers should have been paying attention to this. I see there's a few ladies in the chat who are actually paying attention. And it's crazy because you figure a stream like this, man, you could actually get some damn game off of this, and you would think more people would be paying attention, but you look out in the chat room and what do you hear?
Well,
so it's like,
that's hilarious. I look at it like this, brother, and it's like, now that was hilarious, but I look at it like this, brother. This stream is going to stay up, I'm pretty sure. And that's some people, the title is.
I don't take my videos down unless YouTube strike them. So.
Right. And there's nothing in and damn it, I lost my. Oh yeah. There's nothing super enticing in the title, but people are gonna get to the information when they get to it. If they don't, I'm going to keep putting out this message because one, hey, let me tell you this. High value man, since that's the little keyword, trigger word people are using. If you got a shit ton of money, it doesn't fucking matter. Hell, if you love your family, doesn't matter if your health isn't in place. Without your health, you can't do any of those other things. Okay?
Yeah.
So I want to attack this from, I'm tired of seeing us, particularly brothers, and I know there's some sisters out there, but I'm just simply saying, I'm tired of seeing us brothers get shitty information, just take it, it is what it is. No, the fuck it's not. We can do something about this, okay? Now, I'm not saying I'm the end all be all. As I mentioned, I'm still learning some of these things, as I come through, but I've been doing this strictly intermittent fasting for at least a year myself. I've known about it at least 6 months prior to that, and I have great results. I'm not selling anything. I don't have a book on this. I'm just a brother who's got good information, who's been able to look at the history, and I actually enjoy this because I enjoy wanting to see people live their best life and be healthy and being able to enjoy it, how life should be. Pardon my soapbox, but if that's it, I just wanted to make that clear there, brother.
Yeah, man, this was good shit, brother SYRTYCE, man. You got to come back and do another one, man.
I can't wait to talk about. I'll show you the before, afters, and all that. But thank you for the invite. I did start a YouTube channel. That was a personal channel you got the video from, but it's gonna be called Tice. It's gonna be called Tice Reviews. I'm gonna be doing reviews on products, on videos. I don't mean just Manosphere videos, but I mean various things because I got a lot of opinions on things, and mostly books, because a lot of the books I've read a shit ton of books, and some are good, some aren't. I'm going to give some good summaries, but it's going to be called Tice Reviews. I'm going to definitely be adding these things, but I want to thank you, my brother, and how you've brought a variety of brothers from and sisters, but you brought a variety of brothers from all gambits of life and showcased them. And it just proves that we're not the monolith that many people believe that we are, but I don't care what people believe. I know what we are. So I want to thank you for accepting my invite. I'm sorry for accepting my request and presenting this. And I'm more impressed that you actually enjoyed this. So thank you again, brother.
Because I'm not going to lie to you, boy. I thought, I was like, damn, I got brother SYRTYCE coming on tonight. He going to be talking about fasting. It's going to be boring.
Yeah, I love the honesty.
But it wasn't. But it wasn't, though.
Right.
But it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It wasn't, man. It's actually pretty interesting. And like I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch it again. And like I said, you need to come back and do another one, man. Maybe we can, because this is the Prophet of Thought series. So we can do this kind of stuff, man, a couple times out the month if you want to. I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you.
Yeah, not only do I had to give do you understand why I had to really give the history? I really think it's important that people understand what they're contending with and that they've been hit in multiple directions. But now we can talk about the attack. We can talk about, hey, how you do it? We can talk about how you can create your own plan that works for you. This isn't something structured, but this is definitely about tapping into your body, into your own body. And it's helped me even. Brother Zave, I'm not going to say what I'm doing right now because I want to reveal that in the video, but I'm doing things that I haven't done in years, okay, physically. So, I just want to preach health and wellness mainly.
Yeah, man. All this shit makes a difference, man. I mean, like you just said, I mean, you can have millions of dollars, but if your ass sick, and you can't really do anything, you just got enough money to pay other people to do shit. Cause see, you can't do anything, especially if your ass look like Jabba the Hutt.
Right.
You sitting in the damn bed just having people wheel food in there on a fucking gurney. It doesn't matter Doesn't matter how much money you have, because you're not going to be out there, and you're not going to be able to get out there and do do those things that you want to do, man. And another thing is that, I mean, we need to get healthier as a people, because make no mistake, man, black folks, we kind of fat. We fat.
And that's what pisses me off, my brother. By the way, shout out to Doug. He's giving some good advice in the chat or what have you. And I see him in a lot of chats. So shout out to Doug right there. Yeah, brother, it really pains me because I grew up. I should say we grew up. We grew up during a time just seeing I mean, you didn't want to be inside the house, okay? You know, you wanted to be outside, whether it was riding your bike, playing running bases, baseball, basketball, football, pick them up, fuck them up, whatever it was called regionally, you know, throwing, you seeing girls jump roping, hopscotch. Yeah. We was about activity. That's why it pains me when I don't see this stuff now. People say, well, it's the culture in this. Well, I'm talking about a culture that existed for damn near 100 plus years. Yeah. So don't tell me that wasn't the culture.
Yeah, we've gotten stagnant as a people, you know, with the emergence of the internet. All we do is sit around and stare at screens now, you know.
And we can use it. Hey, I had some books, but a lot of this information, as I showed some of those videos, you know, shit, we can use it to find bullshit, or we can find things that will help us out. And I prefer to find things that's going to help us out. So I'm thinking more like a part 2 will probably be talking about the protocols and answer some of your questions. I will share some personal things, you know, and, talk about like when I say the protocols, like what window and how to get started. I'll run it past you. So we'll definitely do it within the next 3 weeks. I promise you that.
Okay. That's cool, man. I mean, come on back, and, you know, maybe a few more people will catch on to it, and, you know, log on to it and catch on to it, man. Who knows? Might change a few people's lives, you know?
Right.
It's a possibility that you could change some lives. You know, maybe you might be the person to put the spark under their butts, you know, and make them get up off it and do something about what they look like and what they feel like and what their health is going to be like. So, you know, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on, brother, and I want you to come back, man, and do another one, man.
I really appreciate it. And again, thank you, my brother. And on that note, I'm going to log out. I wish you a good evening and have a good Friday going into the weekend, brother. And thanks to the chat.
Oh, absolutely. I don't work Fridays, so Thursday nights, you know, I can be up here bullshitting all night.
Hey,
well,
real
not
quick,
all night, but most
anybody
of the
want to reach me? I'm at SYRTYCE@gmail.com. Also,
put your information in the chat room. You're a mod. Go ahead, put all your info, your channels, spam that shit in the chat room, man, so brothers know how to get at you.
All right.
All right,
definitely. All right, my brother. You take care.
Peace. I appreciate it, man.
Right.
My brother. Yeah. Just got off the line with brother SYRTYCE, and that was an interesting presentation he did, man. I had told him before, I said, damn, I thought this shit was gonna be boring, you know, but it wasn't. You know, he had all his notes, and, you know, he had his screenshots and all that shit together, and he went down the history of the food and talked about the farmers and the grocery markets, and he showed the little clips about, you know, the changing cost of food inside the supermarket. He had one clip where he showed, you know, the white folks, then he showed the black folks with the pig feet and the crackling and shit. I was fucking with him about that one. I said, how you get a clip with pig feet in it? But it was a good presentation, though, man. It was a good presentation. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed, because y'all see him right there, right? Y'all see him right there, right? Now tell me, he's saying no, but tell me he don't look like this person. Tell me he doesn't look like this person. Here's another view. And here's brother SYRTYCE. There are some similarities there, are they not? I was fucking with him. Oh shit, what's good, brother Art? You want to come up? You can. Oh shit, Art probably working. Are you working, Art, right now? You want to come up, brother Art, if you're not working? I know you probably are. Yeah, but it was a good presentation, man, and I learned a lot of shit. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch it again. Because I've been taking an interest in that keto diet, man. I've been taking an interest in that shit, man. I mean, that thing seems to work, along with, that intermittent fasting that brother SYRTYCE was talking about, and it's crazy because I'm getting older now, so I'm doing things a little differently, but I was eating once a day type of person, y'all. I would drink coffee and tea and shit throughout the day when I'm working, but the only meal I would eat most of the time would be dinner. That's it. I wouldn't eat breakfast. Lunch was a bottle of tea or a can of tea and a cigar. That was lunch. I have like maybe a big cup of coffee in the morning. That's breakfast. Go off, start working. Lunchtime, cigar, and a bottle of tea. A jug of tea. That was lunch. And then of course you come home. My wife, she cooks, she likes to cook and shit. And I would eat dinner, I would eat that one time. That's it. Now, of course, I drink tea and coffee, shit like that. But as far as eating solid food, I used to eat once a fucking day. Now I eat a little more. I eat at least 2 meals a day now, sometimes 3. Now, if I'm working, days that I'm working, the meals are probably 2. I eat twice. But days that I ain't doing shit and I'm here with my wife, she'll probably, she'll make something for breakfast. And then, lunchtime, she might make like a little sandwich or something. We might eat that. And then we'll eat dinner and shit. So I actually eat more when I'm not working. Because when I'm working, I don't even think about food, man. I don't even think about food. I think about coffee and shit. Yeah. And cigars. Shit, you give me some coffee and some cigars, boy, I rock out all fucking day. I'm good. Especially if I have like some tea and like the lunchtime, like breakfast, I drink a cup of coffee, a big cup of coffee. I'm good up until like lunchtime. Then I have like some tea or something and I'm straight, long as I don't run out of cigars. Long as I got a cigar, I don't even think about food. Shit, my wife get on me about that shit. Like, oh, yo, like shit. I ain't think about no food, woman. Shit, my mind don't be on food when I'm working. When I'm working, my mind do not be on food, man. My mind be on other shit, whatever project I got going on, how many machines we got to get up out, going to a mobile call, marking off my books. All that shit be on my mind. I don't even be thinking about eating. I really don't. To be honest. But yeah, so don't look like nobody's gonna come up. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and close out, y'all. I appreciate y'all coming through. I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and run a few of my commercials, and then I guess we can peel up out of here. I'll see y'all on the other side of the break.
Open your mind.
Hey guys, T.P.O.T. on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But you knew that already. Peace, folks. This is Teacher Tanisha. You're listening to the T.P.O.T. Media YouTube page. You know, now back to the show. You know.
Yeah. Oh, good look on that, brother Sickly. Yeah, man. I'm crazy about my being cigars, man. Shoot, my wife know, boy, if ain't no cigars around here, boy, this ain't a happy place. If I don't have any coffee, cigars, and beer in his house, this is not a happy place. Because I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to make sure this is not a happy place. Yeah, cichlid, man, shit. Should I smoke a good cigar? Shit, man, with a cup of coffee in the morning? Should I bounce out, go to work? Yeah, bounce out, go to work. And usually I don't eat anything, you know? I don't eat anything, especially if I got one of them Cubans. If I got one of them Cubans now, you know, I puff on half of that shit in the morning, and then lunchtime, I'll smoke the rest, you know? Then I'll smoke the rest. Yeah, I don't think about no damn food. Now, once I get home in the evening and I walk in the house and I smell food cooking, of course, you know, I want to eat some. But like throughout the day, when I'm like working and shit, I don't be thinking about no food, man. Coffee and tea, that be me like all day long. To be honest, that's me like all day long, coffee and tea. Told you my wife get on me about that shit. Yeah, she get on me about this. Oh, no, you didn't eat all day today. What'd you eat? You know, because she know I don't be thinking about no damn food when I'm working. I don't be thinking about no food. Shit, I be doing other shit. I don't have time to eat. I'll eat later. I tell my wife that shit. I'll eat later. For real, man. You know, but I'm gonna I think I want to start this shit I think I want to try this shit. Maybe like for a week or two. The shit that SYRTYCE was talking about. You know? I might want to try it, man. Oh, you do it? Brother Sicklade, how do you see the effects from? Do you see the change? Do you see the results? Do you drop the weight? Do you see it when you do that? When you fast 2 days a week? Or maybe you don't do it, because I know some people, they don't fast to lose weight. They fast to purify themselves. Do you do it to purify yourself? Oh, okay. Okay. So you're doing it for weight, to lose weight, or you do it to purify? Yeah, because I know some people, they do it, you know, they do it as a purification process. So, you know, I think it helps with that too. You know, it helps with that too. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when I was a Muslim, we used to fast. I mean, you know, that especially during like Ramadan and shit like that, you know, you don't eat anything. You know, I mean, nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. We didn't drink no water. We didn't do any of that shit. I mean, we took in nothing. I'm talking absolutely nothing during Ramadan. I mean, we were, you know, devout Muslims like that. So you didn't eat anything. Nothing. Nothing. I think if you're more into you know, you're more into the Judeo-Christian type thing, I think they fast till the sun goes down. Yeah, they fast till the sun goes down. Then after the night, then they can eat again. But during Ramadan, I mean, when I was a Muslim during Ramadan, we didn't eat anything. I mean, nothing. Nothing. We didn't drink water. We didn't do any of that shit. But I was a much younger guy then. I was like in my 20s. So, I mean, you could, when you're in your 20s, you can go a while without drinking water, without drinking nothing, without eating nothing. I do that shit now. You'll find me laying in the yard and shit. Especially if I done went a couple of days without having anything, you would find me laying in the yard. Shit, my damn dog will be running up to the goddamn house like Lassie and shit, trying to tell my wife that I'm out there laying in the backyard dead and shit. That's probably what will happen if I try to. What the hell is going on? Damn, brother Sick Lid, boy, you done pissed that bot off, boy. You done pissed the bot off, boy. It's blocking all your shit, boy. What you do to that Streamlabs bot? You done pissed it off, man. But yeah, man, we gonna I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap up, man. Close shop early tonight. Y'all make sure you have your black behinds here. Saturday, we're gonna be doing something a little special. It's something new we done came up with, man. We're gonna give you something that you're probably going to like. Saturday is gonna be good, so make sure you hear. And y'all know on Saturdays we throw down at 8 p.m. Eastern, not the usual 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. Yeah, man, make sure y'all have your black behinds here Saturday night, man, because Saturday night is gonna be probably wicked and wild. Yeah, it's probably gonna be wicked and wild. So make sure you have your black behinds here, man. I appreciate all y'all coming through tonight, man. I appreciate brother Sicklid with another $5 super chat. Man, you ain't trying to let me get out of here, brother Sicklid. God damn it. Trying not to let me get out of here, brother Sicklid. But yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate you good folks here, man, in this here chat room, man. And I appreciate you folks out there as well. Special shout out to my boy SYRTYCE. He put up a good presentation tonight, man, about fasting and diet and food and the origins of food and supermarkets and farming and all of that shit. So if you came into it late, go ahead, rewind it back to the beginning, man, because there's some very valuable information up in this here stream. So go ahead and just rewind it back. And I think I'm going to go ahead and we might go ahead and make this a series, man. I'll just have brother SYRTYCE come back maybe a couple times out the month, and do this thing, because we need to get healthier, man. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, anybody that disputes that is just crazy at this point. I mean, we need to get healthier. We need to eat healthier. We need to think more about our long-term health. Because with us black folks, there's a lot going on with us. The hypertension, the diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, all that shit is a factor in Black America. And maybe, just maybe, if we were to take up some of these practices, even if on a small scale, it could make a big difference. On a small scale, but it may just make a big difference. I'm just saying, man. Something to think about. All right. So, with that, I will leave you with 3 words. Like I always do. Open your mind. The prophet of God. Peace, folks.
Open your mind, 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 open your mind.
Only from the Prophet of Thought series media.
You know, you know, you know, you know, you know.
Open your mind, 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 open your mind.